6:57 a.m. on a Monday morning. I'm pulling into the parking lot, have my briefcase over my shoulder, my coffee in my hand. Starbucks. French roast. Black, no sugar. It's going to be one of those types of days. As I'm walking towards the building, you walk up next to me. We ask about how our weekends are. And as we notice in front of the administration building, there's a car that is illegally parked on the sidewalk. And we see the campus police that are actually surrounding the car. And I'm thinking, ooh, that's a lousy way to start a Monday. As I walk closer, I realize that's not just any car, that's a black Suburban with tinted windows. I quicken my pace a little bit. You keep up with me. As I then look and see individuals walking out of the building holding computers, holding boxes of information with the very distinctive FBI vests. I approach the campus police and they say, Mr. Clark, you're not going to be able to go into the building today. We've been hit with a ransomware attack. The network is down. The Wi-Fi is down. The building access codes are down. The security cameras are down. Every critical system at the university is offline. This, of course, has now reached the students who are taking to social media, which then in turn brings the regular media, and we start seeing news trucks with the satellite dishes on top come running towards the campus with cameras. We walk together as we see the CEO and the CFO and the CIO who are all converging, saying, Mr. Clark, what do we do? And I said, well, we pull out our incident response plan. Remember the one we've talked about? Yeah, I have a copy of that. That's on my computer. And somebody else says, oh, that's okay. I've got a backup of it. It's on the network drive in the SharePoint folder that we probably can't access now. Mr. Clark, do you have a copy of that? Yeah, I do. Hard copy in my briefcase. I'm old school like that. We go into a conference room in the adjacent building because we couldn't go into that building. We sat down around the table, and the look of anxiety and panic was palpable because they are now getting calls from board of trustees, from donors, from federal agencies asking, what's going on? Has your critical data been compromised to the point where you are now going to have some level of vulnerability with legal and regulatory exposure? Mr. Clark, what's the plan? And I said the very first thing, and that is, first of all, colleagues, let's not miss the opportunity to capitalize on this crisis. What? We were kind of looking for some real life stuff here, Mr. Clark. What do we do? What are the next steps? And I said, we'll get to that. But first, we need to start with the fact that this is just the before picture. We now have an opportunity to be a part of creating that after picture. And it's going to be amazing. I want to start with that posture because whatever the crisis is that you're dealing with, whether it's in your cybersecurity posture, in your personal life, what? A cyber geek nerd talking about life application of cyber principles? Stay with me. Stay with me. Yes. In fact, if it's okay with you, can we actually take out our beanie propellers, hats? I want everyone to put your hand over your head right now, and I want you to spin that imaginary propeller, and you got to do the noise with it. Ready? Bzzz. Okay? Each one of you is now a part of the geek family. Welcome. Welcome. Now, at any point as we go through this presentation, if you find that I'm going over your head and it's getting a little too technical, that's your cue to me, not to raise your hand and say, I don't know what you're talking about, but just put your hand over your head and everyone go, bzzz. And the best way to start with this is to actually start with a framework, and that is, of course, the National Institute of Standard Technology Special Publication 853 Reversion 5. I mean, why would we go with 4 if you have 5? Bzzz. We could talk about COBIT or COSO, or if you're an international business, of course, ISO 27001. I mean, right? We all know that. The look of blank stares at this point is like, bzzz. I want to get a chance to take you through the journey of how each of you can be the agent of change in your business to maintain a proper posture. Say that 5 times fast. Proper posture of cybersecurity, but I'm also going to take you on a journey of how you can apply those same principles to your life and give you some life hacks. What do you say? Best way to do that is to take this special publication. It's 492 pages, and I figured the best way to do this is just to start at page 1. And we'll finish this up by Wednesday afternoon. How about if I were to take that one 492-page document and boil it down to 1 slide? Would that be okay? All right. The cybersecurity framework first says to identify all of your critical assets, all of those things that are most important to you in your business environment. There's a few things I want to highlight for this as takeaways. And that is, first, the risk management. What does that mean by risk management? You're assessing what's the bad stuff that could happen, and what would be the impact if that were to happen, and what's the likelihood that that bad thing could happen. Do you see how you can apply that to your own life? We'll get back to that. The next part is that you want to try to figure out those things that are most important to you. How can you now protect those? How can you be intentional about protecting those? And you want to focus on not only the data security, but don't miss the opportunity for training and awareness. What are we doing to try to maintain our own training and education and awareness? Not only of yourself and your business environment, but of your families. Parents, the best way for you to try to put in place cybersecurity principles is to infuse those into your home. And we're going to get a chance to talk throughout this presentation on all of the different tools that you can take that for which you do not need to have a computer science degree, and you can actually apply these things in a simple way to be able to secure your home network. And one of the first things that we want to do is talk about password security. Can we talk about that for a minute? How many of you love changing your passwords on a regular basis, right? You're raising your hand, you're lying. I appreciate that, though. First of all, update with regular, strong, unique passwords. Don't use the same password from multiple platforms. Use multi-factor authentication. Throughout the presentation, we're going to get into the tools that you can take to make sure that on all of your social media platforms, on your email, that you're using 2-factor authentication. What does that mean, Rob? I don't understand. Bzzz. We'll talk about it. But ultimately, I simplify it by saying like this. Treat your passwords like your underwear. Say what? Treat your passwords like your underwear. Change them often. Now, your organization might say you need to change your passwords every 45 days. I would not suggest you use that same time frame to change your undergarments. That's on you. You do you. Change them often. Secondly, keep them private. Don't leave them lying around. And the third thing is, don't share them with anyone. If you apply those types of cybersecurity principles to your passwords, that's going to be a great step. Let's go back to the model here and talk about the next stage, and that is what to do once you detect some type of anomaly. There's something that's going wrong. How do you go about protecting it? Are you intentional about proactively addressing where some of your areas of vulnerability are? so that you're not just reacting to problems that occur all the time, but you're regularly trying to survey your environment at your business, in your home life, in your personal life. Surveying that regularly so that we can have that continuous security monitoring. Once we find that there are some anomalies or things that need to be addressed, well, then we have to respond. We respond by making sure that we address things such as a mitigation strategy. Mitigation means that we're not necessarily going to be able to eliminate the risk, but we have to respond to it and figure out ways in which we can correct that and manage that. And then secondly, focusing on improvements. Always with the focus on taking one step at a time, trying to move forward to a more secure posture. Ultimately, then coming up to a state of recovery. And this is the point when I was talking with my colleagues saying, we're going to have an amazing after picture. What we're focusing on right now is just the before picture. But if we are intentional, we are going to be able to implement some of those things that we were always having on our wish list of wanting to do, but never had the time or the resources or priorities to be able to do it. And that is how we get to our life hacks. I want to take you on a journey of how you can take those same types of principles and first identify what are the values, what are the things that are most important to you, what is your vision, what is it that you want to be known for, what do you want your legacy to be, and how can you go about addressing the areas of risk on a continual basis, applying those same types of things to your life, auditing your life. When you identify those things that are most important to you, how do you protect them? What type of proactive steps do you want to have in place to secure what's important to you? Those things that are important to you, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. If those are your values, you need to have a strategy for being able to protect those things and not just wait for problems to occur and then try to dig yourself out of that hole. Cybersecurity life hacks that you can apply. Education and awareness. What are you doing to continually improve yourself? What type of mentoring do you put yourself in? What type of 12-step programs do you need to take on that I had to take on myself? And pause here for a second and tell you how I got to the point of making this connection to cybersecurity principles and how I could apply them to my own life. It was about 12 years ago. I was going through a very difficult divorce. I was seeing how that impacted the relationship with my kids. I'm a former ice hockey player, played hockey all my life, played up until I was almost 50, had somebody hit me, blow out both my knees, torn MCL, torn meniscus on one play. That was the last time I ever put skates on. I ended up putting weight on. I ended up going into depression, and I self-medicated with alcohol. And at first I was thinking that that was just my coping, but it got its claws on me to the point where it owned me. And I looked in the mirror and I said, this is not working. This is not working. And then how is it that I'm so good at what I do in my profession and I can't even apply these things to my life? This has got to change. And so I audited my life and I applied these things to myself and began to continuously monitor what was going on in my life and seeing myself and responding to that and mitigating that, focusing on those improvements, one step at a time, stumbling along the way, but continually focusing on what my goal is. And that is focusing on my after picture. Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be known as? What do I want my children to think of me? What type of legacy do I want to leave? What type of impact do I want to have on the next generation? And I was intentional about that. I developed that recovery plan. And by the grace of God and by the people that I surrounded myself with, I can tell you, and I don't say this in a braggadocious way, I say this to give you hope. wherever you are in your story, if there are moments or things in your life that you are struggling with, it's just your before picture. You are going to have an amazing after picture if you make your story not about you, but about the people that you are then going to be able to inspire because of your story. I am now celebrating over 10 years of sobriety. It has, thanks be to God, 10 years from taking a sip of alcohol that before I could not picture my life without. I went through the process of going through a physical transformation. That was me at 273 pounds. And that was taken on my 60th birthday. 70 pounds lighter that I have now kept off for over 8 years. I share that not to pat myself on the back, but to give you hope. This is not about my story. This is about me wanting to be able to give back and to inspire, to help you to not only have a solid picture of what you can do for your cybersecurity posture in your homes and your businesses, but how you can apply these things to your life. Because I'm telling you folks, whatever you are going through, it is just your before picture. But if you apply these things to your life, if you apply those principles, audit your life, do a regular continuous monitoring, be focused on your recovery plan, focus on your after picture, you will have an amazing after picture. My name is Rob Clark. Thank you so much.
All right. Yo. Give it up one more time for the Geek Who Speak.
Thank you.